The following program is sponsored. The opinions and statements made by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the views of WBOB or its parent company, the Chesapeake Portsmouth Broadcasting Corporation.
It's time for Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard. Angela and Howard talk about what's new in real estate and answer your buying and selling questions. To participate in today's show, call 222-TALK. That's 222-8255. And now, here are Angela and Howard.
And good morning, everybody. Obviously, I am not Howard and definitely not Angela. I am Greg Harris, the president of Watson Title Services of North Florida. And just to kick things off, wanted to thank Angela and Howard for the opportunity to guest host for them today. And we were one of the initial sponsors of this program back when Angela and Howard kicked it off in order to keep everybody here in Northeast Florida apprised of how things are going in the real estate market and to help answer all their questions they might have about buying or selling their home. And I've had the pleasure of being a guest here on a few occasions. So for you regular listeners, even on a Labor Day Saturday like we have today, may recognize me. And this is a great opportunity, I think, to go ahead and weigh in and maybe talk in some more detail about what my specialty and Watson Title Services North Florida specialty is in the part of the real estate process. And we'll get into some of those details as we go forward. But as was mentioned in the introduction, I love questions. And if you would like to call in with questions, specifically about the closing process, which is when you get that contract, that purchase and sale agreement. You want to go from there to the point that you actually close it and either get a set of keys or a set of dollars for your proceeds for your sale. We're the ones that work that process to make sure that the home buyer is actually purchasing a property from somebody that's authorized to sell it, and that the property is as it has been described to them, and we protect their interest in case something untoward happened that affects that value or that possession. And we make sure that the sellers get all the proceeds that they deserve for their closings, and all the costs are taken care of as per the purchase and sale agreement that they've agreed to in order to sell their property. So if you'd like to, give us a call, 222-TALK. That's area code 904-222-8255. As I kick off our discussion this Labor Day weekend, first of all, for those that were up early this morning, I hope you got a chance to see that glorious rainbow. Usually, and we've had quite a wet summer, you can look out and the mornings are pretty clear, but we had a nice little sun shower early this morning and had a beautiful rainbow to the west. So if you've enjoyed that glorious goodbye to summer, now that we're in September, that was another great reason why we live in North Florida. And to kick it off and talk about our little area of expertise is what is a title insurance company. It's really has two functions. And one of the things that I do in my role is the president of the title company for Northeast Florida as part of the Watson family of services is we have an education class that we do for new realtors. And I always try to describe to them what we do. And there are really two aspects that we're responsible for in the real estate process. The first thing is what is in our title, which is title insurance. And the second part is settlement service. The title insurance part, it's a different type of insurance policy. I had a call this Wednesday from somebody who had purchased a home and had closed with us back in 2013. And she had a rather unpleasant divorce situation, and her now ex-husband wouldn't communicate anything with her. And he handled all the finances, everything involved in the closing. And she was looking through her paperwork and saw an insurance policy, and she called up because she was concerned that she hadn't paid a premium, and she knew nothing about it or any of her closing documents because her ex-husband took care of it all. And I explained to her, no, actually, the one interesting thing and in many ways unique thing about a title insurance policy is that it's a one-time premium that's paid at closing, promulgated rate by the state of Florida, that covers your possession of that property and any legal cost that may be occurred at some point down the road. If a variety of things come in that might impact your 100% ownership of that property or whatever percentage ownership you have on the deed. And it'll cover you for as long as you own that property or your heirs that may inherit the property from you later on. So she was happy to know that she didn't have any other additional premiums to pay. And that policy, now that we are in a situation where, and we can cover some of the numbers if folks are interested, that the values have appreciated over the course of the last 3 years. There's some people that want to move up, or like my neighbors off of Julington Creek Road did, they've decided they wanted to downsize and sell their property. There are opportunities, if you've owned that house for 3 years or less, that you can actually get a discount when you sell on your insurance policy. It's not transferable from one person to another, but if the research on the property that's required in order to issue a policy had been done and within 36 months, you can actually get a discount on that. And what that insurance policy will cover is when you purchase a property, let's say you bought a 1-acre property, and one reason you bought it is it had that beautiful big backyard that you wanted to put in your koi pond and your little Zen garden, and you see no reason why you can't, and you decide you want to go in and do that. And before you start making the efforts to do that, you find out that there's a JEA truck or some other utility truck right outside your fence. They knock on the door and they say, we need to take down part of your fence because that beautiful big backyard of yours is actually an easement. And easement wasn't on your survey. It wasn't on your title commitment, which is something which the underwriter commits to writing a policy when you close. And all of a sudden your property isn't as valuable as it used to be because you can't use half of it. That would be something that a title insurance policy would cover, because you should have been notified of that prior to purchasing the property. And there's a variety of reasons why sometimes things aren't discovered during the course of searching a property. It's usually some type of paperwork error or human error at some point. But you as a homeowner want to make sure that when you buy a property, it is as it was described to you, and that there is nobody else that has a claim to possession of it. And that is something else the policy can protect you from, because there can be undisclosed errors. For instance, if you buy a property for me and you have all indications and have been told that I had 100% possession of the property and I was going to transfer it to you, and unbeknownst to you, when you purchase a property, I only owned half of it. Somebody else has a half interest of that. Well, that title insurance policy will make sure that it is still yours, and any legal cost involved in making sure that it is yours is taken care of, and you're not responsible for that. That is the title insurance part of the equation. And you'll hear a few things in the course of the closing process related to it. Usually, once we receive a contract and a desired closing date, and with a lender, we also coordinate with the lender to get all their costs and requirements. We work with our underwriter to start that 30-year marketable title search, which ultimately results in a title commitment. And when you close, you get that title policy. And from there, you own the home and you're off and running. And we're about to head off to the break. And when we get back, we'll talk about the settlement services side of the house, which is when everybody sits down at the table and exchanges keys and cash. Again, this is Greg Harris, President of Watson Title Services of North Florida, standing in for Angela and Howard. Give us a call, 222-TALK.
Hey, WBOB listeners, it's your realtor on the radio, Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. Angela and I don't just do the radio show, we are active realtors. When it's time to buy, we will interview you to determine your specific housing needs. Distance to work, style of home, school needs, Distance to place of worship? Kids' activities, lifestyles, number of bedrooms, budget, and so much more. In short, we do our very best to find you your perfect home. We won't waste your time showing you houses that don't fit your needs. Whether you're moving up, moving into your first home, or now an empty nester, you can trust us for the most important purchase of your life. It's what we do. It's what we'll do for you. Experience the Angela and Howard Team Advantage. Call us at 421-7950.
Hi, I'm Christine Kennedy, and in my 20 years as a loan officer, I've helped over 1,000 families finance their home right here in Northeast Florida. To get your fast, free, and easy pre-qualification today, you can visit my website, applywithchristine.com. That's Christine with a K, or you can call me directly at 904-514-6969. That's 904-514-6969. At Watson Mortgage Corp, we help deliver the keys.
NMLS ID 140780. Florida Mortgage Lender License MLD 716. An equal housing lender.
Want to sell your home in less time for more money and without making repairs after the sale? Have your home inspected by Home Pro Inspections before it goes on the market. Since 1994, Home Pro has inspected over 35,000 local homes. Buyers trust Home Pro Inspections.
With an 18-month home warranty and a 5-year roof protection plan, your home will be the one buyers want to buy. Call Home Pro Inspections at 268-8211 or visit GoHomePro.com.
Angela Walker and Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. not only come to you every Saturday morning, but they would also like to work with you when you need them the most. That is, when you need to buy or sell a home. They pride themselves in giving you their very best effort every day and in every way. There are many realtors in the First Coast to choose from. Let them show you the Howard and Angela Team Advantage. Call them at 421-7950 or email them at realestateradio@yahoo.com. Are you buying a property being sold by HUD? As a buyer, you can select Watson Title Services of North Florida as your settlement agent. Avoid having to deal with out-of-town companies. And make sure you get the world-class customer service of Watson Title Services that Angela and Howard have come to expect. Call them at 461-3220 when you're looking at buying a HUD property to ensure your purchase goes through as smoothly as possible. That's 461-3220. Angela and Howard do. This segment is brought to you by Watson Mortgage Corp. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
And welcome back, everybody. I am your guest host, and for Angela and Howard, Greg Harris of Watson Title Services of North Florida. And during the break, we had a caller on, Larry. Welcome to the Angela and Howard Show.
Hi, Greg. Thank you. Got a question for you. First of all, appreciate your explanation on title insurance, what it does. I think a lot of people just kind of gloss over that in the closing because they don't really understand what the heck it is. But I would like your take on something that you didn't mention, and that is on a title insurance policy, there can be exceptions listed in it. Is that correct?
That is. As a matter of fact, you're a great lead-in, Larry. That was one of the topics I was going to talk about in the settlement services process. There are usually three things that the objective listener will hear during the process. There's ordering title, which is done at the beginning. That's when we notify our underwriter, hey, we've got a closing off of 123 Elm Street due to close, the 18th of October. And we'll start the process of researching that property and the homeowner to see where there might be something connected to it, liens, encumbrances, and stuff, things. And then there's the title commitment that comes back that the underwriter says, hey, I'm committed to writing a policy on this with the following exceptions. And on the exceptions, that's where we find out things that are the liens, encumbrances, any clouds on title. We also find out mortgages that are connected to the property. Sometimes we'll have sellers who say, well, I've paid off all my mortgages, but then lo and behold, we find out there's actually an outstanding mortgage out there because the lender, and we saw this a lot during the real estate crisis last decade, the lender that they had sent off their payoff just never recorded the fact that lien was satisfied. So we'll go through the process of getting that cleared. Also, people have home equity lines of credit, and some people don't realize the fact that that's really, to summarize, a second mortgage. There are tax liens that might be on the property that they may or may not be aware of. There can also be other items that have attached to the property, depending upon where that property is located. And we do a thing called clear title, which will work usually with the seller to identify those exceptions that are on title that can be cleared. And that can include things also such as mineral rights, tree rights, even air rights. And some can be cleared, some can't. That way the homeowner knows exactly what is attached to the title of that property that might affect its value or its use. Was that kind of the direction you're going for, Larry?
Yeah, that's it. Do you normally, in the course of closing, go over those exceptions with the buyer?
We absolutely will do that. It depends upon really the buyer. What we have found is most buyers, when the title commitment comes back, all they want to know is there a problem? And we'll let them know if there is. Many times with buyers, they just want to know, hey, do I have clear title, yes or no? They don't really want to know. And in some cases, there's no reason for them to know what things there might be on the title when we initially get that commitment back. For instance, the seller has 2 mortgages on the property. What we do is we get in touch of the people who are holding the mortgage and get payoff letters. And all the payoff letter is the mortgager says, hey, if you're going to close on the 15th of next month, if you give us X amount from seller proceeds, we'll remove that lien. So the buyer has no concern of it. One thing that buyers do want to hear about, and we obviously will let them know, are things such as mineral rights that might be on the property. And we usually explain to them that almost all the time that we have that somebody may own the mineral rights, but they don't own access to the minerals. So nobody's going to interrupt your backyard barbecue to dig up your backyard looking for phosphate, but you also cannot create your own artisanal line of small batch phosphate either, because somebody owns the dirt underneath any minerals in the dirt, that is.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the explanation. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks a lot, Larry. Appreciate you calling in. And again, if anybody else has some questions about the closing process and wants to join Larry on the line, you can reach us at 222-TALK. Or for numbers people like me, that's 222-8255. And Larry's question really was a great lead-in to what for many buyers and sellers can be an opaque process, but it's absolutely a critical process to make sure that that new home buyer, when they get through at the closing table and they've got the keys in their hand and they're looking over at the U-Haul going, we've got a place to go and unload, that they're confident that this is my home, I have it, it's mine, and I can do with it what I wish. And that is what the exceptions will tell us. And almost all the time, buyers don't know, because we've worked with the sellers to clear off all those exceptions that came on the title commitment. And they will have a free and clear policy. You hear that phrase all the time, free and clear. That more or less comes from our side of the business. So when you get that title to that property, it's yours, free of anybody else having any possession or hold of it, and clear of any liens and encumbrances that might have been attached to the property from the previous homeowner. Because when you buy a home, you want it to be you. You don't want to be responsible for anything that the previous homeowner should have taken care of that they have put in involved with that property. Another thing that takes place during the process that we do in that settlement services to get you to the closing table is we make sure that we have communicated with the buyer's lender to know what those requirements are. One thing that can be a little frustrating for people, especially with very busy people that have a lot of people like me and my wife We joke that if you want to do something with us, give us about 90 days notice, because our calendars are pretty busy and scheduled with us and the kids and everything else. And people might have a little narrow window at which they can close their property. Many times in a real estate transaction, it's not when the buyer wants to close, when the seller wants to close, and it sure isn't when the title company or the realtors want to close. It's when the buyer's lender is going to be ready to go. And there are, various lenders that talk about certain timelines that is really predicated upon how much work has been done by the buyer and the buyer's lender ahead of time to know how short that timeline is going to be. But it's when the lender is going to have everything ready to go. And then when they have it ready to go, usually once that clear to close and the package shows up at the title company or whoever your settlement services provider is, usually 48 hours later, you can close if everything else is cleared up. But that's the big question is when the buyer's lender is going to be ready to go. And then you should be able to close. We also will look at the taxes. And this, especially now, about 2 weeks ago for Duval, Nassau, and St. John's, I don't know if Clay has quite come up yet. The trim notices have come out, which will give you an idea of what the most recent taxes are. One of the not contentious, but sometimes puzzling part of the process is how property taxes are paid at a closing. To kind of keep it as simple as possible, they're paid in arrears, which means 2018's taxes are going to be probably paid no later than early 2019. And the seller is responsible for the taxes prorated on a daily basis up to the day before closing. The buyer owns the day of closing on. And so the seller is going to need to pay at closing for the expected taxes up to before the day of closing. And, of course, the buyer will cover the rest when the final bill is due. And what settlement service providers have to do is just go with the last best official property taxes are, which are what is available at the property appraiser's office. And that number can change from year to year, whether you have homestead or not. And it can vary very differently from what the seller paid and the buyer paid, depending upon whether it's a homestead property or not, what the millage rate has changed. But you can only go by the last tax bill that is known to everybody. And so this is the time of the year that maybe early on in the transaction, property taxes were X. The trim notices come out and the numbers have changed. Sometimes people get confused by that. It's simply because, for lack of a better phrase, the facts have changed just because it had a new notification come in. So we'll make sure that all that is lined up and taken care of, and that all the other requirements on the contract are properly set up and aligned for people to be able to have a firm idea of what they're either getting the proceeds for or what their taxes, or what the amount of money they need to bring to closing are. So those are the big things we as a title company do, is we do the settlement services and title insurance, as well as helping everybody understand the things as go forth in the process. A couple other things after the break that we'll talk about a little more detail about the title insurance policies, because there's owner's policies, there are lender's policies, and even though they're about the same property, they do have very, very different characteristics. This is Greg Harris, President, Watson Title Services of North Florida, sitting in for Angela and Howard. If you want to talk, give us a call, 222-8255, 222-TALK.
AM 600, 101.1 FM, WBOB. With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The crowd is gathering at Washington's National Cathedral at this hour for what will be the final public service honoring the lifetime of service of Senator John McCain, who died a week ago today of brain cancer. Former U.S. Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush to be among the speakers at this morning's service, set to get underway just about a half an hour from now. President Trump was stumping in Charlotte, North Carolina last night. He defended his record on a number of issues and said the tariff battles he's fighting right now are fair for the country. He says other nations have been taking advantage of U.S. trade policies now for many decades. 3 children, including 2 infants among the dozens of passengers, seriously injured when the commercial bus they were riding in was hit head-on by a semi-truck on a New Mexico highway, killing 8 people yesterday. On Wall Street, the Dow lost 22 points. This is SRN News.
At Underwoods, we know what it takes to be one of the South's most trusted jewelers. Our reputation was made by carrying the finest quality. I'm Clayton Bromberg, the president of Underwoods, and we're proud to bring Forevermark diamonds to North Florida. Only 1% of the world's diamonds are eligible to become Forevermark. They're the world's most carefully selected diamonds that you can be proud to give and wear forever. The Forevermark icon invisibly inscribed on each diamond is proof of the Forevermark promise that each diamond is beautiful, rare, and responsibly sourced. Their exceptional beauty is unleashed by the world's finest craftsmen using skill and artistry passed down by generations. Forevermark diamonds benefit the communities from which they're sourced and are individually cared for from the mine to her finger. Underwoods is Jacksonville's authorized Forevermark jeweler, so make the right decision and come by Underwoods in San Marco, Avondale, and the Shops at Ponte Vedra.
Good news. You are not stuck with your health care plan. Really. You have a choice, and it's a great one. It's called Medi-Share, and if you've heard about it and wondered what exactly it is, it's a way that people share their health care bills. And these are people who have a common faith, who want to be part of something beautiful that not only meets their healthcare needs, but the needs of others too. And it's people who love to save money big time. Medi-Share members typically save $500 a month per family on their healthcare costs. That is a life changer for people. So this could be for you. Maybe it's what you've been looking for, a way to pay healthcare bills that's not only very smart financially, but it's even profound. Medi-Share is a nonprofit with 400,000 members nationwide who pray for and share with each other. So yes, you're not stuck. There's another way, and it could save you a lot. Find out more. Call 877-64-BIBLE. That's 877-64-BIBLE. 877-64-BIBLE.
For more than 25 years, the potential for health improvement is seen with each patient that walks through our door. Healthcare decisions don't have to be confusing. Make Island Doctors your medical practice. Island Doctors cares about their patients.
They got my blood pressure off the ceiling, my thyroid off the floor.
Call us today to schedule a tour of one of our locations near you and take a peek at our best wellness program. And welcome home.
1-877-434-4676.
The latest traffic and weather on WBOB, your 2018 election authority.
And the roads are looking pretty normal. Some good driving around town. As for the weather, I expect a little bit of rain next few days, about a 20% chance of that both today and tonight. Mostly sunny today with a high near 90. Mostly cloudy tonight, down to about 76. And then tomorrow, 40% chance of showers, partly sunny. Looking for a high of 89. Currently 82 degrees right here at AM 600 WBOB.
Let's return to Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
And welcome back, everybody. I'm Greg Harris, president of Watson Title Services of North Florida, standing in for Angela and Howard. And thank you for joining us this beautiful Labor Day weekend. And summer's all behind us, so I guess we should get serious now. But in the real estate business, the summer's always a busy time. But I was just looking at the end of the month numbers for us. And what's a little different this year is the consistency in the market. At least for the part of the market that we serve, it looks like September is going to be just as busy as August and July. So that's good news for us. It's a little bit cyclical, but this year has been interesting in a couple of different ways. But the summer's passed, but the business is going to keep popping for us. Before we left at the bottom part of the hour, and I talked about the closing process, and said we were going to come back and talk in a little more detail about what buyers and sellers hear in the background, but probably don't understand it as much as they should. Probably because when you're closing, this is why it's so important for every part of the transaction that you have a good team supporting you that can answer your questions, make sure you're fully informed, and is willing to stand next to you when you go, hold on, make sure I know this, because it is very complicated. Everything from home inspections to getting a loan to the closing process to, heck, for just finding a home if you're a buyer or finding the right buyer if you're selling a home. And so this is one of those things that sometimes in the fire hose that's coming at people just goes right past them. But it's important for people to understand what's actually going on. And there are, in most transactions, and last month, 70% of the 150 listings that we closed involved a lender. And in all of those, there wasn't an exception here. There are two policies in the transaction regarding the title. And let's start with the biggest of the largest of the two, and in many ways the most critical, especially for the buyer. And that is the owner's policy. The owner's policy, the operative word there is owner. It protects the interest of the new homeowner. And the tradition in Northeast Florida can vary from location to location. Nassau County's a little different. Their tradition up there is the buyer pays for the owner's policy. But everywhere else in Northeast Florida, unless otherwise specified on the contract, the seller is the one who pays for the owner's title insurance policy. I try to explain it to people. It's kind of the seller's way of telling the homeowner, hey, listen, I own this property and I want to sell it to you free and clear of everything. But in case something goes wrong, here's an insurance policy that makes sure that it's all yours. And the new homeowner says, thank you, I'll take that policy. And they have it for however long they own the property, or their heirs have it. And it's again, a one-time cost based upon the sales price at a rate set by the state of Florida. So it's going to be the same regardless of where you go. So something else to give confidence to people involved in the real estate process that everything's straightforward, easygoing. It's all set during the state of Florida. There's no reason to wonder whether you're paying too little, you're paying too much, et cetera, and so forth. Very, very straightforward. It covers you. You're set. Now, what you'll also hear is a lender policy. What the lender policy is, it's a separate policy that covers the interest of another party. That would be the buyer's lender. Because if you need a loan, let's just use an 80% of a loan, the buyer takes care of the down payment, but then they have to have a lender come in to borrow money from in order to cover the rest. Now, that lender, they want to make sure, just like a new homeowner, they want to make sure that they have full value of that property. That lender wants to make sure that they have the right collateral and to cover the loan in case they have to take possession of it at some time down the road, and then they have to liquidate it, that their investment is covered and secure. So what that lender policy does is it covers the full value of the loan, and then as that loan is paid off, the value of that lender policy will eventually, it'll decrease by the amount of principal that's paid off. And once that mortgage is paid off, that lender policy goes away. And you'll hear a phrase used in the closing process called, and buyers will see this because this is a buyer cost, not a seller cost, simultaneous issue. All the simultaneous issue is saying that the title insurance underwriter will simultaneously issue, i.e. at the same time, both the owner's policy and the lender policy. And that's all simultaneous issues. Sometimes people think that there's a simultaneous issue policy. No, it's just the term that says that for usually a fixed amount that the lender policy will be issued at the same time as the owner's policy. And that confuses people now and then, but there's really no reason to. And I always encourage people to ask questions, even if you've asked it 2 or 3 times, because there is a lot coming at you during the closing process. And when you work with a real estate professional, they enjoy the questions. I tell people all the time when I get phone calls, go ahead, ask me a question. I don't care. It's great. We want people to ask questions because the more knowledge you have, the more confidence you have, and the happier you're going to be with the transaction. Nobody likes to be confused. So if there's something that wasn't quite explained to you right the first time, or you didn't quite hear it, or you've got a busy life and you forgot, ask 2 or 3 times, whether it involves your home inspection, your listing agreement, or your title insurance policy. And if you want to call and ask questions for us, again, our number here is 222-825-TOP5 or 222-TALK. Really do enjoy questions. When we come to the closing process, one of the things that, and this is a little bit of enlightened self-interest on my part, I know, but I like to talk to people about something that can seem a little maybe counter marketing, but it's really not. And that has to do with how fast you want to close. And there are a lot of things in real estate closing process that people like to emphasize how fast it can take place. And as in many things in life, faster is not always better. You want to make sure that things are done right and that you aren't a bunch of changes that move around. Fast is good. You don't want processes to go on and on and on and on and on. And in my life, I've been in 45 different countries, and I've lived in some other ones, and I always get a kick out of the real estate process in some countries, and it can take a long time to close, so too long isn't necessarily good. But you want to make sure that everybody in the process, including yourselves, has time to make sure that when you come down to the closing table, or if there's a mail away involved, that everything is done in a detailed, professional manner. And timing that is so important. And one of the mistakes that some people will make, and I think because there's a little mythology involved, plus some people like to live by a calendar, is there are a lot of people who want to close on a Friday, or they want to close at the end of the month. And counterintuitively, this is one of those things that the first thing comes to the mind might not be the best thing. For instance, if you're traveling someplace and you need the services of the concierge at the hotel you're staying at, when are you going to go to that concierge? At 5:30 in the afternoon when he has 10 people around him yelling at him in 3 different languages? Probably not. You want to go to the concierge when things are not as busy. And especially for my friends in the mortgage industry, they really, really have a challenge at the end of the month and on Fridays, because that's when everybody wants to close. But everybody only has shares a 24-hour day on planet Earth. And when everybody's trying to do something at the same time, you get in a time crunch. And that's when delays happen, mistakes are made, people get disappointed. So I always caution people that unless there's a really, really, really good reason why you want to pick a closing date, don't close on a Friday, don't close the last 3 days of the month. And if you can, try to avoid Mondays too. People ask me why Mondays. Is because all those people that didn't have their deals close on Friday because everybody couldn't get lined up in time, they're closing on Monday, and it can get busy too. So pick the timing right, and I'll talk a little bit more about that at the break, because everybody should really, really enjoy the real estate process, because it is fun and it's important, and we'll talk more about it at the break. 222-8255.
Good morning, WBOB listeners. It's your Realtor on the Radio, Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. Angela and I want to thank you for tuning in with us for our 5th year now. It's been such a great pleasure to be on the radio with you, giving you advice on buying and selling, as well as answering your questions on the air. Thank you so much for the trust that you have in us as professional, experienced realtors with over 20 years of combined experience. We want you to know that when it's time to sell your home, we want to be your realtor. We will focus on your home, your family, and your time frame. Our team will customize a marketing plan to give you the best exposure to get you the best price and have the best selling experience possible. Whether it's a condo or a house, a short sale or a regular sale, a $200,000 home or a mansion, you will get the same great service. Call us at 421-7950 and join the multitudes of others that have experienced the Angela and Howard Team Advantage. Howard here. When it's time to buy your home, you need to get pre-qualified. We recommend Christine Kennedy of Watson Mortgage Corp. She can get you pre-qualified in less than 5 minutes. Call Christine at 514-6969. That's 514-6969. Or apply on our website, www.applywithchristine.com. That's Christine with a K. She'll get you through all the way to closing with great service.
NMLS ID 140780. Florida Mortgage Lender License MLD 716. An equal housing lender.
You know the importance of a home inspection before buying a home. But who should you call? Who can you truly trust?
We recommend the certified inspection experts at Home Pro Inspections because of the experience of their inspectors, an 18-month home warranty, and the Buy Your Home Back guarantee. Every Home Pro inspection includes a 5-year roof protection plan.
Do what Angela and I do. Call Home Pro Inspections, 268-8211, or visit GoHomePro.com. One of the most critical parts of buying or selling your home is the very last process. That's the closing process. Angela and I recommend Watson Title Services. They have the experience to handle any issue that can come up, and there is never an upfront fee to the seller. Whether you are using a realtor with the sale of your home or not, always ask for Watson Title Service to handle your closing. We do. Call them at 461-3220. That's Watson Title Services.
It's not the fire in the fireplace that damages your chimney. It's the moisture. That's why the Chimney Safety Institute of America recommends an annual cleaning and inspection of your fireplace, regardless of how often you use it. The technicians at Chimney Champions clean the chimney, then use the ChimScam video system to do a complete inspection of your chimney to ensure your home is safe. You can trust Chimney Champions to clean and inspect your chimney. Howard and I do. Call 268-7200 or visit chimneychampions.com.
This segment of Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard is brought to you by Watson Title Services of Northeast Florida. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
And welcome back, everybody, to what I believe is our last segment for today's show. And before we go over today's open houses, we have another caller on the line. Barry, good afternoon. Actually, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Hey, I've got a question. I'm actually a realtor, and I'm working with an investor who bought a condo at a HOA foreclosure auction. And I manage it. I wasn't involved in the sale or anything, but I manage it as a rental property. And my question is, there's a mortgage, or there was a mortgage on the property, and this is kind of something I've never encountered before, and I was just curious as to what's going on with that mortgage. If how does that? Because the owner got a certificate of title when he bought the house. So, can you explain how all that process works and what's going on?
Well, without being able to look at all the paperwork itself, it is an opportunity, because I do get this question on a regular basis. I assume when you say there's a mortgage on the property from the previous homeowner?
Yes.
Right. That's one of the things when you buy properties at foreclosure auctions, you get what is on the property. There's no way to retroactively do a title policy that would cover anything. You would probably, your investor would need to consult with an attorney to look into it in detail to see what would need to be done to go ahead and clear off that previous mortgage. Because if he owns the property now, that everything that came with that property, all the encumbrances and liens and other things, most likely came with it. But he would really need to have an attorney to go over all the paperwork and look at it in detail. And if you'd like to, on Tuesday, you can give me a call at 461-3220. Ask to talk to me, and I have recommended of a couple of attorneys that could probably help your customer out.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Barry. Appreciate the call. And, hey, there are open houses this Labor Day weekend for Angela and Howard and their team. They wanted to touch base with and make sure everybody knows about it. And we really cover a lot of our Northeast Florida area. We have a property in East Mandarin, one over in the northern part of Mandarin in Beauclair, Eagle Harbor area, and also up at the beaches between A1A and Atlantic Boulevard. Well, let's start with one over in the Beauclair area, which is off of Scott Mill Road in northern part of Mandarin. It's at 2951 Heritage Trail, and it's open today from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's a great, charming little house. It has 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, colonial style, real solid construction, detached guest house and garage. It has a must-see brick patio with an upstairs balcony, wood floor, large baseboards, crown molding, a sunken wet bar, bay windows, and columns flank the entry. The master suite is Texas-sized. Literally half of the upstairs has his and hers closets, which is very important, at least in my marriage. And also the bathrooms have been partially remodeled. Has a big old garden tub with 2 faucets. And the master bedroom itself is 24 by 15, and it leads over to a balcony looking over the wooded rear yard. The secondary bedrooms are 16 by 16s, and they share a Jack and Jill bath. The other property that you can find off in the eastern part of Mandarin is between Old St. Augustine Road and Gillington Creek Road. As you head eastbound towards 95. It's on 5325 Scattered Oaks Course, and Scattered Oaks Court, and it is open today from noon to 3 p.m., and it's right at the end of a nice little cul-de-sac street, has hardwood floors, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, with an office flex room. The kitchen has granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, a nice little breakfast area. The focal point of the great room on the floor-to-ceiling, stone wood burning fireplace, nice cathedral ceiling and wood beam, 450 foot of heated, cooled Florida room is in addition to the 2,070 square feet. Overlooks a large fenced backyard with a 320 square foot workshop with AC and storage shed. The patio has wood decking on one side, outdoor kitchen with a fire pit on the other side. The master bedroom has nice workmanship on chair rails, hardwood floors, and a nice customized closet and master bath. LED bulbs, solar hot water heated will cut your electric bills in half, and also the roof has been recently updated. The third one that we have is over there in the Eagle Harbor area and Doctors Lake down in Clay County. It's open from 12 to 3 today at 2461 Stony Glen Drive, Fleming Island. It's a 5-bedroom, 4-bath home built by Koppenbarger. It's located right on Stony Glen subdivision at Eagle Harbor. It has white shaker cabinets, granite countertops, wood floors, a master bedroom with a huge walk-in closet, his and her vanities. This one also has a large garden tub, new white cabinets, and granite complete the master bedroom. And finally, over there for those at the beaches between Atlantic Boulevard and Mayport Naval Station, it's open from 12 to 3 today. That is 2213 Cypress Landing Drive. For those that are looking at the beach, this one has a established home, but it's been completely remodeled with a new kitchen, with new cabinets, new countertops, appliances, new flooring throughout. Big Texas-sized room, tile in the bathrooms have been resurfaced. Has a one-car attached garage, huge fenced backyard, real close to the Mayport Navy base in the Exchange. Real convenient for those that want to have that beach lifestyle. That one, again, is off of 2213 Cypress Landing Drive. Our Mandarin properties were 2951 Heritage Trail, 5325 Scattered Oaks Court, and for those interested in the Eagle Harbor area and Fleming Island, 2461 Stony Glen Drive. Those are our open houses for today. And before we close things out, I think we have about 4 or 5 more minutes, I wanted to go back to talking about the things that make for a pleasant closing from a timing point of view. One thing that can cause a couple of delays that are frustrating. I think most frustration comes because it surprises people. We try to make sure that if this comes up, that people understand why there can be a 1 or 2 day delay. And that has to do with something we've seen more and more the last few years, and those are mailaways, whether they're buyer mailaways or seller mailaways. We do the international and national mailaways, Washington, Maine, Hawaii, Alaska, but we also do quite a few. Singapore, Hong Kong, Russia, Israel, India, the Philippines, Vietnam. Those are just a few of the ones that we've done recently. And those can add days to weeks to a transaction, depending upon, it could be an extra day or so if you have a buyer mail away to Washington State, because you got to get those original documents back. Or I had a conversation a few months ago with a seller down in Miami who was very anxious to get his proceeds before the end of the week, but we needed that overnight package to come back from him because we needed to have that original signed wet signature deed in our hands before we could distribute funds. And there can also be issues for our international buyers because if there are documents that need to be signed and notarized, you can get stuff pretty fast to Europe and most of Asia, but then they have to have a notary, and not just any notary. They have to get a notary that works here in the U.S., and most of the time that means they need to go by a U.S. embassy or a consulate. And if anybody who's had to do that, that can be up to a 2-week wait on that end. So I always tell people in the closing process, ask lots of questions, be patient, smile, and it'll all work out in the end. And if anybody has questions they wanted to ask today about the closing process, or they've got something we're working on right now, always give us a call at Watson Title Services of North Florida, 461-3220 and area code 904. Thanks again, Howard and Angela. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your listeners today. Hope everybody has a great Labor Day weekend, and we'll hear from you next week on Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard.